Yaffee.
The Yaffee Program on WVNN.
Starting the show today, and it has to do with the bill that's being put forward through the Alabama legislature, which I think is pretty important, probably needed, and it's a sad fact that it is needed. So let's say the FACE Act doesn't exist. Now, the FACE Act, as you know, was that law that was passed to protect abortion clinics, but as a part of the law, it also protects places of worship where you can't, intercede, get in the way, interrupt places of worship. And this came up because of what's going on in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Now, things have calmed down lately, but you remember when protesters stormed a church, interrupted the service, scared kids in church? Well, I don't know why. If you're storming a church service and scaring, kids in the church service, you're on the wrong side, just so you all know. But anyway, that came up. And I heard a good question about this. What if the FACE Act doesn't exist? What do you charge those people with? It's possible they only get charged with trespassing, which is a very minor crime. And that's just not a strong enough deterrent. So we know some of those radical protesters, agitators, I don't even want to call them protesters, honestly. They're more than that. They're going to be charged with more, but, it really brings up the point that maybe we need stronger laws against this. I've heard about laws being proposed here in Alabama. I've heard similar stuff around the country, Tennessee as well. So I want to talk about that a little bit. I think it's important. You are listening to the Yaffee Program. This is the show where you can count on the latest news, the important guests, and the best analysis, all for your morning commute here on News Talk 770 AM, 92.5 FM, WVNN. Also coming up the show today, I will get to those Alabama headlines with the bullet points. At the bottom of the hour, we'll speak with Congressman Barry Moore. He's also running for the U.S. Senate. A lot going on there. Still partial government shutdown going on. They're still trying to pass the SAVE Act. I know that Trump recently went overseas. Marco Rubio had a great speech overseas. There's a lot of talk about the latest with Iran, with Cuba. And Barry Moore, as part of the Judiciary Committee in the House, he got to question Pam Bondi on some things. And I just want to ask him about that hearing in general, because if you remember that from last week, it was ridiculous. So we'll get into that. I do have more details on the SAVE Act. There is kind of a follow-up as well, because we were talking about it yesterday where you had Marco Rubio versus AOC. And Marco Rubio having a great speech at the Munich Security Conference, and AOC not so much. Not so much. So we'll get to that, and I know that Walker will do What's Trending later. You can weigh in if you want. We have our Yaffee text line, as you know, brought to you by RegenesisStemCell.com, 866-494-9866, 866-494-WVNN. So let me read a little bit from this. I know we've talked about it a little bit, but going to get this from our friends over there at Fox, I believe. Yeah, Fox 54 in Huntsville. By the way, Dale does a TV show for them every week. Shows up on their website. I've been on it before. It says here, after Minnesota church protest, Alabama and other states moved to crack down on disruptions. When Oklahoma Republican state senator introduced a bill last year to strengthen the state law protecting places of worship from protesters, well, it stalled. But this year, so by the way, that state senator was pretty prescient. He kind of saw what was coming, unfortunately. Continues on, it says, this year his church protest bill sailed through the legislature. Republican Governor Kevin Stitt signed it into law 3 days after it was reintroduced. That's a big difference. Now, in recent weeks, Republicans and Democratic lawmakers in states including Alabama, Idaho, Ohio, South Dakota have pushed legislation, none has passed yet, that would increase the penalties for disrupting religious services at houses of worship in the wake of a widely publicized incident that I was just talking about in Minnesota. We talked about it a lot on the show at the time. Protesters stormed the church service, disrupted a worship service to confront a pastor who is an ICE enforcement official, and to demand justice for Renee Good. Now, such incursions are already prohibited by trespassing laws, which do make it illegal to enter private property without the owner's permission. And as I mentioned, the FACE Act can play a role here as well. But we need stronger laws than that. It says here, meanwhile, in New York, Governor Kathy Hochul and New York City Council Chair Julie Menon, both Democrats, they also wanted to create a new buffer zone around houses of worship. Their proposals come in response to recent anti-Israel protests outside of synagogues. Which, by the way, if you're protesting just outside of synagogues against Israel, I mean, is that just anti-Israel or are you just frankly anti-Semitic? But, as I mentioned, Alabama, there's one being proposed in Alabama. And really, at least here, the one that is being proposed would make it a felony. Now, I know the one that's being proposed in Tennessee would just make it a misdemeanor. So a lot of states are strengthening laws, but I think we have it right here that if we're going to do this, it should be a felony. So my main question to you, I guess, would be, do you think this is necessary? I'm going to explain a little bit more why this is necessary, why it could get worse. But before I get to that, and Walker, by the way, I believe you're there now. I forgot to say good morning to you. Walker, how are you today?
Well, I was running late this morning, but, I made it right on time, so I guess that's good.
Okay, good. By the way, I believe Austin downloaded the audio for you.
Yes, he did.
Austin doing a good job, by the way. I know he's running Dale's show now. Do me a favor. Can you play the Eric Johnston cut that I sent you? This is an attorney out of Birmingham. He is also with a group kind of helping with this legislation. Go ahead and play that cut for me. Eric Johnston.
Disconnected. Immediately after the events in Minnesota, some of our proactive legislators wanted to do something. And so a bill was drafted initially. Yeah, I think it was a little bit weak. We've worked on a bill to expand how we can protect churches. And one bill is moving through the process now, and we expect to have another version of it moving through very soon, maybe this week. And I think in Minnesota, if it hadn't been for the FACE Act, there would have been simple trespass laws might be the only thing that could be applied. And the penalties in those are very, very nominal. We learned in the 1990s with the FACE Act, when it was used against those who were sidewalk counselors around abortion clinics, that you need a very strong law. Operation Rescue, of course, had a lot of people arrested, and it calmed down. But now that we know the way the culture and the society is going, we can expect there to be such demonstrations around churches. I mean, we all know that the church is the only thing that stands in the way of some of these very new cultural phenomena that we have seen grow during the Biden administration and exist right now.
That last point is so important. Now, I wanted to remind you who that was. It's Eric Johnston. He's with the Southeast Law Institute. He was also a big part of the anti-abortion laws that were crafted in this state. But what he said there is right. When they stormed that church and protested it, I said at the time, it's interesting they picked a church. And they picked the church during the worship service to interrupt the actual worship service. Now, a lot of people responded to me, well, that's just because the pastor happened to be working with ICE. If he had worked somewhere else, they would have done that. I just find that hard to believe. Because we saw this as well. After Roe v. Wade was overturned, we saw protesters interrupting church services. They picked the church on purpose because, as I've been warning you, this is a spiritual battle. A lot of these cultural issues were... It's a culture war, but it's also a spiritual war. It really is. So it's a spiritual battle that we're facing. And a lot of it is because of what he said there. The church and Christians, a lot of times, it's what's standing in the way from what the radical left, what they really want to do in this country and what they really want to do across the world, frankly. And this issue is no different. So the church needs to be protected. But beyond that, it's about the First Amendment. I mean, Don Lemon said he had a First Amendment right to do what he did. And as Todd Blanche at the time pointed out, Deputy Attorney General, he said, what about freedom of religion? That's also a part of the First Amendment. Now, a lot of these people will say, no, we're attacking them for being hypocrites. They're not true Christians. It's amazing that those who are not Christians are lecturing Christians on what true Christianity would be. Now, I want to give you a little bit more details on the bill itself. I actually wrote about this myself at yellowhammernews.com, but just kind of remind you, it was State Representative Greg Barnes out of Jasper, who will probably try to get on the show and talk more about this. Like I said, I think it's important. It's sad that a law like this is necessary. I keep pointing that out. You would think it would just be understood in our culture. Maybe don't interrupt a church service like that. Don't try to intimidate Christians while they're at the religious service. You know, I've said for a while Christianity is under attack, but usually it's under attack in the public square. Usually it's under attack where in public school or government buildings, we don't want any sign of Christianity. You can only practice Christianity behind the church doors. But now they don't even want that. Some of the radical left want to attack you while you're behind the church doors too. That's a problem. So reading what I read at yellowhammernews.com, it says State Representative Greg Barnes is the one who wants to create a powerful deterrent in Alabama against activists who might think it's a good idea to disrupt worship services as a protest. So he introduced HB 363 to make disrupting a worship service a crime under Alabama law. Now, the first offense would be classified as a Class C felony, with repeat offenders carrying the same charge and a mandatory minimum sentence of 5 years in prison. That's a real penalty. That's a real deterrent. If we're going to play this game where, like, the Biden administration decided to arrest pro-life activists claiming they violated the FACE Act, where in some cases they really did not. All right, well, this is a part of the FACE Act, but we need to strengthen the enforcement here in Alabama. So this is what Barnes said about it. He said, no one has the right to disrupt a church service and infringe on their fellow citizens' right to worship freely, Barnes said. In Alabama, we are not going to sit by and allow crazy people to intimidate our women, children, and the elderly in our churches. We simply will not tolerate it. So tell me, we have our Yaffee text line. Do you support this? I think it's necessary, but the message really is, one, that the spiritual battle continues. They will try to use churches and worship services as a battlefront, and we need to prevent that from happening. But two, yes, it's sad that we have to do that in America today. But I think it's necessary. You can weigh in, 866-494-9866, 866-494-WVNN. That is our Yaffee text line. When we get back, we'll get to more Alabama news with the bullet points. You are listening to the Yaffee program. Stay with us.
The Yaffee program.
News Talk 770 AM, 92.5 FM, WVNN. We're back here on the Yaffee program. Don't forget, coming up in a few minutes, Congressman Barry Moore, who is a candidate for the U.S. Senate, will join me. And we have a lot more to talk about. You can always weigh in on our Yaffee text line, 866-494-9866, 866-494-WVNN. All right, let's get to it now. We have those Alabama bullet points.
Bullet points. Today's headlines from around the Yellowhammer State.
Brought to you by Larry's Pistol and Pawn. Number 4 today, the Alabama House passes TJ's Law that would notify parents of teen traffic citations. So the Alabama House of Representatives passed House Bill 318, also known as TJ's Law, with broad bipartisan support. So it was a 103-1 vote, which is amazing. Now, sponsored by State Representative Jamie Keel, the legislation authorizes the Alabama Law Enforcement Agency to establish and manage an opt-in electronic notification system that alerts parents or guardians when a minor receives a traffic citation, not warnings for any traffic infraction. Now, the bill was motivated by a tragic 2022 fatal crash in Tuscumbia involving a teen named TJ, after which the victim's mother learned of prior unreported seatbelt citations and advocated for greater parental awareness to promote safer driving habits. So there you go, bipartisan support. Number 3 today, and I wrote about this at yellowhammernews.com. Tuberville responds to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, AOC or OC as I call her. He says, if you hate it so much here, you can leave. So U.S. Senator Tommy Tuberville sharply criticized Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez after she spoke at the Munich Security Conference, where she described the Trump administration as a grave threat to the rules-based international order. She accused the administration of undermining transatlantic alliances and claimed it was eroding democratic norms. So in response, Tuberville posted on X, it's embarrassing to see representatives of the U.S. government going overseas and bashing this country. If you hate it so much here, you can leave. Now, Trump also said that AOC commenting on these things was a bad look, but he was saying it just didn't seem very smart. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later on as well. Number 2 today, Stadhagen has resigned as House Majority Leader. That's right, State Representative Scott Stadhagen, who has served as Alabama House Majority Leader since 2022, officially resigned from the leadership position. Now, this was according to multiple sources confirming it to 1819 News. The resignation followed shortly after he took a leave of absence from the new role to pursue his campaign for chairman of the Alabama Republican Party. Now, that race is set to conclude around March 7th. Concerns about a potential conflict of interest in holding both positions arose during a recent House Republican caucus meeting, where House Speaker Nathaniel Ledbetter and others reportedly raised issues. When there was leaked audio of that where Ledbetter was heard cussing. But so he says he has officially resigned. State Representative Chip Brown was appointed as interim majority leader, and the caucus is slated to meet again soon to address the vacancy. And number 1 today, Vice President J.D. Vance has endorsed Congressman Barry Moore. Not too surprising, since Barry Moore has already got the endorsement of President Trump. And I'll ask the congressman about this in the next segment. Vice President J.D. Vance has endorsed U.S. Congressman Barry Moore in Alabama's 2026 Republican primary for the open U.S. Senate seat, which is being vacated by Senator Tommy Tuberville, who's running for governor, will most likely be our next governor. Now, Vance praised Moore as a proven ally who has supported President Trump's America First agenda from the start, especially on issues like ending illegal immigration, draining the D.C. swamp, and restoring affordability for working families. So in the statement, Vance said, quote, President Trump needs proven allies in the Senate who will fight for his America First agenda without hesitation, describing Moore as exactly the kind of fighter President Trump needs in the Senate. Based on personal observations of his character and commitment, this endorsement follows Trump's earlier complete and total endorsement, as I said. So we'll get the reaction from the congressman in the next segment on that and some other things as well. And right now, I'd love to see your reaction if you go to Larry's Pistol and Pawn. I mean, people are always amazed because it's just a great place to go, a great place to shop. The customer service there is amazing. So let's say you're looking for a new firearm, but you want to get a great deal. Maybe you just want to buy one used. Well, you can do that at Larry's Pistol and Pawn. Let's say you have all the firearms you need, but, it's hard to find ammunition for it sometimes. So they stock up pretty regularly at Larry's Pistol and Pawn. Maybe you need a new case for it, some firearm accessories for it. Maybe you need some clothes with the brand of your favorite firearm. They have that and so much more at Larry's Pistol and Pawn. Maybe you're just a gun enthusiast and you like to research the history when it comes to that. Well, you can do that also at Larry's Pistol and Pawn. You go to the back of the store, you can see Larry's Firearm Collection Museum. I mean, honestly, you could spend all day going through that, reading about everything. I mean, it's really cool, I have to say. So go to Larry's Pistol and Pawn in Madison. It's off Greenbrier Exit 3. If you see that big rusty water tower, you look right next door. There's Larry's Pistol and Pawn. There is another location in Huntsville off North Memorial Parkway. You can always find out the latest deals as well if you go to the website, pistolandpawn.com, pistolandpawn.com. They have the best selection of jewelry in town as well. You can put things on the layaway. They have financing options, which is really nice. And you're going to get a great price on anything you're shopping for. Or maybe you want to pawn or sell something of value. Well, it is a pawn shop, so you can do that there as well. Larry's Pistol and Pawn. I want you to go today, see the great selection, great customer service. And when you do, let them know Yaffee was the one who sent you. All right, we'll be back here in just a moment on the Yaffee program. Stay with us.
It's the Yaffee program on WVNN.
You didn't start a business just to keep the lights on. You're here to sell more today than yesterday. You're here to win. Lucky for you, Shopify built the best converting checkout on the planet. Like the just one tapping, ridiculously fast acting, sky-high sales stacking, champion of checkouts. That's the good stuff right there. So if your business is in it to win it, win with Shopify. Start your free trial today at shopify.com/win.
Hi, I'm Joe Saul-Sehy, host of the Stacking Benjamins podcast. Every week, we talk personal finance trends.
I think it's tough finding like a stock certificate from 1987 in Grandpa's drawer. Wait until you need the Face ID to unlock Cash App.
It's so sad what money does to people.
It happens. That's why you don't tell anybody what you got.
That guy had the brilliant idea. I don't want my relatives to know how much money I have. So every time I go to Thanksgiving, I ask them if I can borrow more.
Stealth wealth.
Stacking Benjamins. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
Welcome back to the Yaffee program here on News Talk 770 AM, 92.5 FM, WVNN. Glad you have joined the show. And if you miss any of the show live, don't forget the podcast will be available anywhere podcasts are available or on our website, WVNN.com or the WVNN app. Joining me on the show right now is Congressman Barry Moore. He is also a candidate for the U.S. Senate. He has been endorsed by President Donald Trump and now Vice President J.D. Vance, among others. Congressman, thank you so much for coming on. Congressman, are you there? Can you hear me? Did we lose the congressman?
Hey, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we're doing good. Great to be on with you.
Okay, no problem at all. So you've been endorsed now officially by Vice President J.D. Vance. What's your reaction?
Well, we're obviously excited. I'm hoping that he's the president for the next 8 years after President Trump's term, and so it's just good to have the White House administration recognizing the work we've done, the fight we've been in for this America First agenda, and to have J.D. Vance come on board this morning and having the president come on last month has just been a great momentum builder, and it's encouraging for us because, like I said, we've been in this fight for a long time, and sometimes you're in the fight, and you don't know if people are watching or don't understand what you're doing, and so for the vice president and the president to say Barry Moore is our friend, he's an ally, he's kept his head down, he's done the work he had to do to help us move this America First agenda, that's really encouraging.
All right, there you go. It sounds like, is that your first endorsement of J.D. Vance for 2028? Or have you said that before?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I think that sounds about right. I think he's the next guy, right? So
there you go. I do want to ask you, you were part of that House Judiciary Committee hearing where Pam Bondi was testifying. And we'll get to the question you asked her, which I definitely think is important. But that was kind of a circus, right? I mean, what they were doing over the Epstein files. The Democrats are insistent that they can somehow hurt Trump over this. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. And here's my thoughts. I mean, in judiciary, it's pretty divided. That's a pretty intense committee where you got myself and Jim Jordan and Chip Roy and Matt Gaetz used to be on there with us and Andy Biggs. You got some House Freedom Caucus guys. And then if you go to the other side of the dais on the Democrat side, you got Jasmine Crockett. You got Jayapal. You got used to be Adam Schiff over there. You had Jerry Nadler. You got Jamie Raskins, the people that led the impeachment, the Russian collusion impeachment. And that's all they talked about was Russian collusion. And that's all. So anytime we're trying to get information, get to the bottom of something, now it's just Epstein. And it'll be, they just constantly try to just, whatever they can do to distract and not really focus on what we've got the committee set up to do, what we're trying to get to the bottom of. And so it's just that same group, and like I said, so it can be pretty contentious at times. Obviously we had Christopher Wray in the Biden administration when he was there. We had Merrick Garland. on the Russian collusion, Durham, on the Durham report concerning the Russian collusion, a narrative that was driven in the impeachment hearings, and even the weaponization of government with Christopher Wray and the FBI, former FBI director under Biden. So, yeah, those can be pretty contentious at times, and it's just like you said, I think it's a way to distract. And the more information we see, it looks like there were more Democrats involved, many more. I haven't seen a Republican yet that was actually traveling on the Lolita Express to the island. So it's just as we pull this stuff back, I think that it's going to be a bad look for them.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it just seems like, you had mentioned this last week, that you have Democrats that use these committee hearings, and I'm sure some Republicans do this too, but they use these hearings to go viral, right? They want the clip. They want to bash Trump. But how do you think Pam Bondi responded? If you watch the propaganda press, mainstream media, they'll say, oh, man, she looked so bad, she should resign. But what did you think?
Yeah, no, I think they've been after Pam because I think with the release of the Epstein files, the 3 million pages, and as she's getting into she went to Somalia, obviously, went up there to investigate the fraud up there. She was part of the serving the warrants for Maduro in Venezuela. Anything they can do to hurt her, they're going to try to do. I think the president still has given her his full vote of confidence. And so, again, those things get contentious, and she knows what game they're playing. Like I said, they're trying to get that viral moment. And so they're gonna scream and yell from the rooftop, she needs to go. But, Lord, it's mostly Trump derangement syndrome. It just kind of filters down to his cabinet. No matter who comes in from the Trump administration, they seem to go on the offensive and attack.
Speaking with Congressman Barry Moore, he's also a candidate for the U.S. Senate. Now, when you had a chance to ask her a question, you actually asked her about an important issue, the Chinese vapes being smuggled into the U.S. and the danger that can cause. And she said she's been working on that.
Yeah, we actually are trying to get, because we're starting to see some fentanyl deaths. We shut the border down pretty solid. And so the fentanyl that was flowing over in the backpacks with Trendeagua and MS-13 it was manufactured, the ingredients from China was sent to Mexico, and then they put it in the stuff and smuggled it across the border, whatever that looked like. And so we were able to kind of get the border under control, but the problem is now there's some of these things are coming in as they look like a retail product. And so the vapes can be laced with fentanyl. We're having some fatalities for young people, and it's an extremely dangerous drug. And so China is doing more damage through some of the normal fair trade, normal just transactions of businesses who look like retail products like you'd buy on any normal shelf store in a convenience or any shelf in a convenience store. And so we're trying to make sure that she continues to put pressure. We got to get that shut down so we don't have them using another route to get fentanyl into the kids' hands in America.
So, okay, that's really good. I mean, the issue of them using it for vapes, and China has been sort of where a lot of this has come from. I agree with that. Speaking with Congressman Barry Moore. Beyond that, I mean, we're still in a partial government shutdown, Department of Homeland Security. I know a lot of that's being debated in the Senate. You guys passed it in the House. But, I mean, how long does this go on, you think?
Man, I don't know. I thought by March 1st we'd have it resolved. So, that was just a gut guess. I mean, I don't know anything probably more than you because you don't know what's going to happen in the Senate. And I just hope that our senators hold the line on some things and make sure because, like I said, I think we talked about this last week. I think having ICE agents have cameras on them, body cams, is a good thing because our law enforcement, they do the job right 99% of the time. But the Dems and the left want to make it, they're trying to make it an issue because of Minneapolis. And so what they want to do is they want the names of our ICE agents on them. They don't want them to wear a mask, and that puts their families at danger. It puts their personal health at danger. And so we're kind of hoping that the president can negotiate through the process. And like I said, we might give a little bit on the cameras, but I don't think these guys need to be where they can be doxxed and people can show up at their house because that could create a lot of problems. I mean, they got a tough enough job without their family being in danger.
Yeah, and it's like when the Democrats say that, do they honestly think, okay, let's say they're not wearing masks. It's not going to stop ICE from doing their jobs. It creates a dangerous situation for them, but we're still going to have ICE do immigration enforcement. So I can't imagine that, okay, they take off their masks and all of a sudden Democrats are okay with ICE now. So it just seems like a crazy.
No,
it seems
not
like
going to change. It just allows them to target those guys. That's what it's about. It's not about stopping ICE. It's allowing us or for the left to be able to go after those individual agents and their family. And I think that's the issue. Like you're right, Yaffee. They're not going to. ICE under Tom Homan, they're not going to stop doing what the American people called us to do, and that's to clean the mess up of the open border of 4 years under Joe Biden. And so we're going to do that job, and we're going to do it in a way that best protects our law enforcement officers. And taking their mask off is not the right way to approach that because, again, it just gives the left the ability to go to their house, to target them, to identify them, and it can put them in grave danger.
So I do want to ask you as well, talking about things that are stalled in the Senate, the SAVE Act. It's still stalled in the Senate, voter ID law. Mike Lee is really pushing hard to do a talking filibuster. He admits it would be complicated, but says maybe it's necessary. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with Mike. Chip Roy brought that in the House, and Chip's a friend, obviously, and Mike. Those guys are brilliant minds. And what Mike's trying to propose is I've been and Coach has too, we're like, bypass the filibuster, blow it up, go ahead and do what we need to do to secure the U.S. elections in November. And that's one of the things that I think most of us would agree that, I mean, you don't have much of a sovereign nation if you're not having your own citizens elect their leaders. There's not another country in the world you can go vote for their leaders. And why on earth would the left want that in this country? And so we have to move this. If it takes nuking the filibuster, I think that's what's got to be done because securing our elections, there's not something any more important to me right now than the sovereignty of this nation than knowing, number one, we got the border secure. Now we know the border lines of the nation. We now need to make sure all these people that poured across our open border are not voting in our elections like they're citizens. And so I'm for if they have to nuke the filibuster or if it's a talking filibuster. And like I said, Mike knows the rules in the Senate. He's a brilliant guy, a good friend. If he can figure out a way to work through it, I think we need to encourage him to press on because it's something we passed out of the House. We did it with one Democrat vote. But if you look at the country, I mean, it's an issue that even the Democrats agree with us on. I mean, 82% of Hispanics, I think 76% of Black Americans, and 85 or 86% of white Americans want U.S. citizens voting in U.S. elections. I mean, that's a pretty simple ask. It's an 80-20 issue, and somehow or another, the Democrats are not really concerned about representing the people that supposedly are in their party. Now they're trying to actually replace those voters with people who are here illegally so they can maintain power.
What's your response, though, when Democrat leaders like Senator Alex Padilla comes out and says, well, it's going to make it difficult for married women to vote? You know, and they're really spreading the lie, right, that, they're basically saying, you're going to have a passport every time you vote, which isn't true. You just have to prove your citizenship when you register to vote, and then you get a voter ID. That's and right. You can use that. So, but I mean, they have really full court press on some of this misinformation on this issue.
Hey, they didn't mind you having to get a vaccine ID to go out and eat.
That's a great
They didn't mind everybody having to have a vaccine ID to live free in America. So how come that wasn't discriminatory or restricted people? I mean, were they targeting women then who were married, because, they won't be able to go out and eat because they don't have a vaccine ID? These people are hypocrites, man. And it's all about power. And they know if they let U.S. citizens vote in U.S. elections, they will lose the grip they have on a lot of these blue cities and these blue states. And that's what it's about. It's all about power. When they had a chance to lock you down in your house and make you get an ID to go out and eat, they didn't mind that because that was a power thing. And it's the same here now. They just want to maintain power in the electorate, and they're trying to control the election so they can maintain power. With this crowd on the left, it's all about more power. It's not about the people. They use women, they use children until they're trafficked across the southern border, and then they're not worried about children. So it's always what can they use to move their agenda. They're dishonest and they're hypocrites.
Yeah, that's a really great point. I'm going to steal that. Is it okay if I steal that?
You can borrow that. There's no pride in ownership, brother. You use it if you need to.
By the way, you have to have an ID to vote in Congress, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we talked, I think it was Tim Burchett, my buddy. He said the other night, he said it's amazing that Democrats actually use voter ID or IDs to vote to make sure you didn't need an ID to vote in U.S. elections. And it's like, that's, again, the hypocrisy of it is insane. Man, you can't get a fishing license without an ID.
Congressman Barry Moore running for the U.S. Senate. How is the campaign going?
Man, it's going great. Like I said, with the president's endorsement, J.D. Vance's endorsement, of course, Jim Jordan endorsed me months back. I think those are the three most popular Republicans in America based on and when those guys are saying, this is the man we want to take from the House to the U.S. Senate because we trust him and he can do the job, it's going really well, and I think the people are seeing that.
Congressman Barry Moore, running for the U.S. Senate in Alabama. Really appreciate you coming on the show as always. We'll talk to you again next time.
All right. Thank you, Yaffee.
All right. We'll be back here in just a moment on the Yaffee program. Stay with us.
You're listening to Yaffee on WVNN.
All right, we're back here on the Yaffee program. This is Huntsville's Smart Talk Radio. Glad you joined the show. Make sure to like the Yaffee Facebook page. Follow me on X at Yaffee or Instagram at Yaffee Live. Just Google the Yaffee program. And Google's going to try to correct your spelling of Yaffee, which makes me very upset. But it's Yaffee. Just so you know. Google is wrong. Because Google can be wrong. Anyway, I saw this story from The Hill. It says Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Ock, as I call her, said Monday she went to the annual Munich Security Conference this month, not because I'm running for president. This is amid speculation that she could pursue the 2028 Democratic nomination. Now, while speaking on the phone with the New York Times, she recalled a reporter previously asking her if Munich is the new New Hampshire. She explained she cannot say enough how out of touch and missing the point genuinely that is, of course. What a response. The New York Times still praised her for her comments, which were not great. By the way, she's running for president. I hope everyone understands that. She is going to run for president. Now, one person who commented on what AOC said was Vice President J.D. Vance. We were just talking about him because he's endorsed Barry Moore for the Senate, but he was on Fox News yesterday as well. Go ahead if you can, Walker. Play the J.D. Vance cut for me. This was him on Fox yesterday.
Martha, you bring me on your show and you show me the most uncomfortable 20 seconds of television I've ever seen. My takeaway from that... What
happened there? What do you think?
Well, I think it's a person who doesn't know what she actually thinks. And I've seen this way too much in Washington with politicians where they are given lines. And when you ask them to go outside the lines they were given, they completely fall apart because, look, does anybody really believe that AOC has very thoughtful ideas about the global world order or about what the United States should do with our policy in Asia or our policy in Europe? No, this is a person who is mouthing the slogans that somebody else gave her. And it
I guess
shows
no one gave her one for that one.
I guess not. And it shows how thin the Democrats' policy actually is on all these very, very important questions. Look, that was embarrassing. If I had given that answer, I would say, you know what? Maybe I ought to go read a book about China and Taiwan before I go out on the world stage again. I hope that Congresswoman Cortez has the same humility. I'm skeptical.
So J.D. Vance
National
is doing
security,
what?
which this conference is
Go ahead and
largely
stop that,
about.
Walker.
Is-
Yeah, we'll get to Marco Rubio in a little bit. J.D. Vance is doing what I just have to say what a lot of people are doing. They're making a mistake. They're just out there claiming AOC is not very smart, not very bright. And I agree with them. I'm not saying I disagree with them or anything. The problem is, I think it's worse than that. It's not that AOC just doesn't know what she's talking about. It's that AOC has a very twisted worldview, and she thinks she knows what she's talking about. That's worse. It's one thing to go to a Munich security conference and forget one of your lines that you've been pre-fed, and that's because you're not very smart and you really don't care about these issues. It's another thing to screw up a response, and what he was really talking about was her response to the question on what would America do if China invaded Taiwan. She gave a non-answer. We played it yesterday. There was a lot of ums and long pauses and everything else. But it's not that she just doesn't know, doesn't understand. She thinks she does. She thinks she's the smartest person in the room. She thinks that her worldview is good, is deeper, and that she could be president because of it. That's the issue I have. And while we kind of just poo-poo that, well, she can never win. Unfortunately, in the world of social media, she is very crafty, which means she is very good at getting attention for herself. And unfortunately, in today's politics, sometimes that's all you need. She appeals to emotion very well for a lot of people. and all these people that buy into class warfare nonsense that we're just being controlled by rich elites, and if we just tax them more, we could have this utopia. She knows how to appeal to that base. So I'm just warning everyone about this. She's going to run for president. I just hope you all understand that. Now, one thing you really should understand is that if you need a new appliance, the best place to go is Jay's Appliance Outlet. I keep telling you that. I want you to dial pound 250 right now. Say the keyword Jay's Appliance Outlet. Now, if you need a new washer or dryer and you want top-of-the-line appliances there, they are Athens Speed Queen dealer. That's right. If you're looking for a top-of-the-line washer and dryer, Speed Queen is it. And they have it at Jay's Appliance Outlet. Make your clothes that much cleaner, and it lasts forever, and they service what they sell. So go to Jay's Appliance Outlet in Athens off 72 or pound 250, keyword Jay's Appliance Outlet. Tell them Yaffee was the one who sent you. Back in a moment on the Yaffee program.
The Yaffee program.
Mic drop.
You ready?
Let's do it.
Hosted by former Navy SEAL Mike Ridland. It's unfiltered.
You know, you go to the sound of the gun, bam, you're gone.
It's weird. I mean, I've had so many near-death experiences.
It's raw.
I love this country. I offered my life to serve this nation and protect its people.
The question, you know, what's the meaning of life? And to me, it just boils down to one single word, which is purpose.
Mic drop. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
The Yaffee program on WVNN.
All right, so earlier on in the show, we were talking with Congressman Barry Moore about this, the SAVE Act, or as Trump now calls it, the Save America Act, which would require voter ID. There's a lot of talk now about maybe using a talking filibuster. Oh, see what I did there? A lot of talk about a talking filibuster. I didn't even do that on purpose. Anyway, Katie Britt had an interesting comment on this a couple days ago. She said, responding to a lot of the Democrat criticism, she said, it's absolutely not. Look, this is yet another example of Democrats being on the wrong side of an 80-20 issue. She said, we saw it with immigration and securing the border. We saw it with boys playing in girls' sports. Just actual ridiculousness. When it comes to transgender children, allowing mutilization of bodies, it's just unbelievable, and this is another example of that. She also said, I spoke with President Trump, and this is his top priority. So we're going to talk more about this and what happens next as the fight continues, because it's stalled in the Senate right now. They're going to have to change the rules somewhat for the filibuster to get it passed. Are they actually going to do that? And what would that look like? Do you just blow it up completely, get rid of it completely, or you make a talking filibuster? So we'll discuss that and more. You are listening to the Yaffee program. This is the show where you can count on the latest news, the important guests, and the best analysis, all for your morning commute. Here on News Talk 770 AM 92.5 FM WVNN. You can also listen online at WVNN.com, the WVNN app, the iHeartRadio app, maybe the TuneIn Radio app, or any of your smart devices, Google, Alexa, Siri, whatever it might be. So it's Senator Michael Lee is the one really pushing this in the Senate. And he's the one saying that they might have to go to a talking filibuster. So he was discussing this issue on Fox News this week, and I wanted to play some cuts, just give you kind of an update of where we are on this. Go ahead if you can, Walker. Play Michael Lee cut 1 for me.
We want to make it easy to vote and hard to cheat. The Democrats like and we're willing to accept only the first half of that equation, but we need both in place. We need it to be easy to vote, hard to cheat. The Save America Act accomplishes both.
All right, so that's the simple take. Easy to vote, hard to cheat. Now, we're going to hear some of the Democratic response, which I just don't... You know, we have voter ID in Alabama. We have restrictions on absentee balloting and all that stuff. It's not hard to vote. We're acting like simple voter ID somehow makes it hard to vote. No, it's still pretty easy. I mean, I guess the word hard and easy, the relative terms. Is it as easy as, say, voting for American Idol where you can do it on your phone? Okay, it's not that easy to vote. But do we want it to be that easy to vote? Of course not, because it would create corruption. So, I mean, I get that the terms are relative, but come on. To the average person, showing an ID, proof of citizenship when you register is not is not hard. Go ahead and play a Mike Lee cut 2 for me.
Yeah, first of all, the fact that we haven't done something in a while, the fact that it would require a fair amount of work and that we don't know exactly what curveballs the Democrats might try to throw at us when we do this isn't a good reason not to do it. In fact, Kayleigh, when you look at how important this is, the fact that we're looking at somewhere between 80 and 85% of all Americans support this, the fact that this may well be necessary in order for us to preserve the majority that the Republican Party holds in the Senate and in the House. When you look at the fact that the American people want this done, this is the most important thing that we could do. And so, look, it may take a while. I expect that it probably would take a few weeks. It would be far worth the investment, and I believe we could get it passed. What we do know is that if we don't try, it won't happen, and it won't pass. We've got to try this, Kayleigh. The American people demand it.
All right, there you go. The problem we have here is once you go down this road, there's no going back. I mean, once we have changed the filibuster in this way, we have forever changed it this way. And if Democrats get control, which could happen after the midterms, we need to be ready for that. That's the only issue. And that there is a warning there. Now, I know some people are saying, well, Democrats are going to abolish the filibuster anyways. Might as well do it now. I have not been as convinced of that, frankly, because they didn't before. I mean, there are some on both sides who behind the scenes are very reluctant to do this, even though in front of the cameras they might say they are. Now, to give you some of the crazy response here, which I had one of our listeners email me as well. You can email me at yaffee@wvnn.com, asking about this. I think they're just finding ways to think that it's going to prevent them from voting, which it's not. But go ahead, just give people an example here. First, we have Nancy Pelosi, former Speaker of the House. She is retiring from Congress pretty soon. She's in Congress right now out of San Francisco. Go on and play the Nancy Pelosi cut for me, Walker.
And we're going to fight him on the SAVE Act for the voter ID. It's just not right. And there are many Republicans in the country who know it's not right because it's inconvenient for them as well as it is for married women in the country. If you don't have your birth name on your voter file, that's a problem. Well, we need no need to go into all of the problems with it except to say it's a problem. We're dealing with it. And the president, I'm really, people are concerned. Is he going to send in ICE?
I just don't understand some of this. And I'll talk more about it in a moment. But I mean, a lot of people had to recently change their driver's license to get that real ID thing. Well, what do you have to do when you get your driver's license? You usually have to have a birth certificate or something that proves your citizenship, a social security card, something. We're acting like now that we shouldn't do that for voting. But you heard it there. Well, it's not convenient. Look, I'm not saying I want voting to be difficult. I understand that, under Jim Crow in the South, they purposefully made it very difficult because they didn't want blacks to vote. I'm not saying we need to go to that, but it also doesn't need to be the most convenient thing ever in your life. That's not what voting's about. It's still a responsibility. There still should be some kind of process to it. And if you can't do the simple process of, I'm a citizen, and then showing up, here I am, my ID, I'm voting. If you can't do the bare minimum, then maybe you shouldn't be voting. This is more than just getting a cheeseburger at McDonald's. This has more of an impact on our country than, like I said earlier, voting on your phone for American Idol. But they're making it seem like it's going to make it impossible to vote. No, it makes it hard to cheat. Now, go on and play the Alex Padilla cut for me, Walker. This is a senator on MSNBC. And by the way, the host here is also completely wrong on this. But go ahead and play the Alex Padilla cut for me.
Well, what about this nonsense about providing citizenship proof every time you vote? Right? You guys do audit the voter rolls. So the point is, you know who's on it. You make adjustments. You audit. You throw people off and you put extra people on. This is not a thing. I mean, I literally talk about discouraging people from voting. Women who've changed their names that don't match their birth certificate. Their married name doesn't match their birth certificate. Their license doesn't match their birth certificate. This is nonsensical.
Right, absolutely nonsensical. I mean, to insist on bringing your birth certificate or a passport. A lot of Americans don't even have a passport because not everybody travels internationally. It's the equivalent of a show me your papers law to be able to exercise your fundamental constitutional right to vote. And who would be impacted? The SAVE Act may sound good in some quarters. One big example is what you just said. A woman who may choose to change her name when she gets married, all of a sudden her birth certificate name is different than her ID, and that becomes a problem. It's never been a problem. It isn't a problem. Or what about people who live in rural areas, have to make their way to a county courthouse to verify their registration when you're already working probably more than 8-10 hours a day just to make ends meet? It's not just an inconvenience. Members of the military, when they're deployed and they change from one base to another, have to go through hoops to update their registration to exercise their right to vote when they should be focusing on their core missions and our national security. Again, the SAVE Act is a solution in search of a problem. The only thing that's saved is Republican chances of holding on to power. That's how desperate they are.
Oh, my gosh. So you have to go to the courthouse. Oh, no. It's just going to be so. I mean, you have to do stuff like this for other things. When you buy a house, when you get a driver's license. Oh, no. But to vote, no. What we should do, in fact, what we should do is have a robot come and personally hand you your ballot while you're laying in bed and you fill it out and we just take it. That's what it should be. Now, I do want to mention, by the way, I said his name wrong. It's Padilla. I don't know. It's spelled Padilla, but I know it's Padilla. I don't know why I'm saying Padilla, but it's Padilla. I'm sorry. But Senator there, one thing is they're flat out wrong. The bill would not require you to show proof of citizenship every time you vote. It's just once, and that's when you register to vote. That's it. There are already provisions in place. Trump talked about it. I played the cut where he said we want to make sure the military can vote. We want to make sure this is possible. But to me, it just doesn't seem like too much to ask to say, make sure you're a U.S. citizen and then show an ID when you show up to vote. And if people have such a hard time going through that simple process, I don't know what to tell them. All right, if you want to react, you can. We have the Yaffee text line, as you know, 866-494-9866, 866-494-WVNN. The text line brought to you by RegenesisStemCell.com. By the way, I want you to make an appointment with Dr. Charles Lee today if you deal with any kind of joint pain. So I've dealt with back issues most of my life. But then I got the treatment at Regenesis Stem Cell Center. They did it on my lower back, my middle back, and my neck as well. And it changed my life. And what's really good about it is I was always worried I was going to need some kind of real surgery. Well, surgery is invasive. Surgery can be very risky, especially back surgery. And it doesn't always work. I wanted a better option. Well, they gave me a better option at Regenesis Stem Cell Center. So go to RegenesisStemCell.com. Make an appointment and give them a call as well, 256-715-8193, 256-715-8193. And Dr. Charles Lee, he is great. I mean, the process uses your own body's adult stem cells to take away the pain. There's really no downtime as well, like there would be with surgery. So I want you to contact them today. And when you do, let them know you heard about it from Yaffee. Back in a moment on the Yaffee program.
It's the Yaffee program on WVNN.
News Talk 770 AM, 92.5 FM, WVNN. It's your Woke Detox Center. You deal with a lot of woke nonsense in your life, that's okay. You come here, you listen to me. It's like a cleanse. What can I say? You feel better. You feel better after all that woke nonsense. Speaking of some nonsense, I wanted to play a cut here from former President Barack Obama. He was on a podcast recently, and the game he plays here is so interesting, but it's typical. And it was one that President Joe Biden, when he was president, tried to do as well, as in his inaugural speech, you might remember. So go ahead if you can, Walker. Play the Obama cut that I sent you.
The other side does the mean, angry,
demagoguery,
exclusive, us, them, divisive politics. That's their home court.
Yeah.
Our court is coming together.
Okay, see? Look, if you just agree with our side and join our side, we can have unity. That's it. No, that's them. Them over there, those bad guys, they're the divisive ones. Those evil MAGA extremists, they're the divisive ones. We're unifying. I mean, do you hear how he's doing this? And he's very good at this and always has been. Now, I want to talk about the issue of unity and divisiveness in politics and in just a moment in our culture, in just a moment. But I found a really good response on this, a good voice of reason. It was Guy Benson, who is a Fox News contributor, was asked about this. Play the Guy Benson cut for me, Walker.
I feel like the collective response from the right, conservatives, Republicans, to this comment from Obama was, spare us. How completely preposterous. Just on its face, Charlie, the way that he framed the whole discussion was classic, divisive, self-unaware Barack Obama. He's like, oh, us versus them? That's not us. That's them. We would never do such a bad thing. Only they would, right? He's doing it literally in the interview while having no concept that he's doing it yet again. And this was part of his brand, right? With nice rhetorical flourishes. But this was a conformity-demanding demagogue for 8 years as president. When he gets involved in politics to this day, this is the way that he argues, not just in rhetoric, but in policy as well. And to say, oh, the only anti-unity nasty people are on the right, he must have been in some sort of intellectual coma for the last 50 years, if he actually believes that.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what Obama was so clever at, I guess. You know, in his very comment, he was being divisive. Oh, the us versus them, that's them, not us. You're doing it. But, you know, I just have to say, a lot of times, and, you know, I remember I said this when Joe Biden, he gave his inaugural speech, talked about unity. Politics is inherently divisive. It is by its nature pretty divisive. And in fact, not just politics, culture and religion can be by its nature divisive. It just can't, because when you are talking about either solutions for the country, when you're talking about what you believe to be the truth, there are going to be people that disagree. And when you actually have power to make changes and you have people that disagree with the changes and they want power to make other changes, that by its very nature is divisive. So I'm not going to sit behind the microphone and tell you that politics isn't divisive. Oh, the right is all about unity. We're great on that, and it's the left that's divisive. I'm not going to even go that far. Because yes, it can be divisive. When you're making a stand for something you believe in, you're not going to get everyone to agree with you. You're not going to get everyone on board with what you have to say by its nature. Jesus Christ, the Son of God, was killed by the Romans for what he said. If the Son of God is going to be divisive, anytime you speak out, anyone is going to be divisive, is my point. That if your goal is just unity for unity's sake, it means nothing. Because one, it's impossible except with the barrel of a gun. And even that's really impossible. But you can only, you know, authoritarian regimes force unity. So when people talk about unity in politics this way, I just don't even buy it. Now, I do think there should be some civility. That would be where maybe I disagree with some. Maybe we're not going to get complete unity in what we talk about, but maybe there should at least be decorum and civility. And that's what's really been lost. But I'm not going to sit here and pretend that Trump is Mr. Unity. You know, I voted for Trump. I didn't vote for Trump because he's Mr. Unity. Because if you want things to be accomplished, if you see real problems in a country and you want them to be accomplished, people are going to disagree by its nature. But I would like to see more civility where we can disagree peacefully. But I'm sorry, when Obama comes and says it's the right that's divisive. Oh, so radical leftists storming a worship service in Minneapolis. Oh, that wasn't divisive. Or impeding ICE. Oh, that's not divisive. Or when President Joe Biden, who himself said he wanted to be Mr. Unity, went into Independence Hall and did a speech screaming about MAGA extremists. Oh, that wasn't divisive. Oh, no, that wasn't divisive at all. I mean, come on. Even when Obama was president, the bitter coiners comments, the you didn't build that comments, all of that stuff, it's inherently divisive. So I just don't buy this nonsense. I don't know why. I just get annoyed by people like Obama who act like, oh, I'm just above it all. I do not sink to your level in the divisiveness. But they are inherently muddying. They're inherently in the level, and they're pretending like they're not. It's just condescension. It's arrogance. It really annoys me. So that's why I wanted to bring that up. If you want to weigh in, you can. We have the Yaffee text line. In fact, Aaron from Madison weighed in and said, if you're required to show ID in order to buy tickets to movies like Deadpool, you should absolutely be okay showing ID to vote. That makes sense to me. All right, going to move on to what's trending. Coming up next, much more to get to here on the Yaffee program. Back in just a sec.
You're listening to Yaffee on WVNN.
The CJ Pearson Show.
Every week, we'll take on the biggest cultural, political, and moral battles in America head on.
CJ presents the most passionate voices in the Black community.
When you're going around and talking to people in actual communities, you get to know what people actually care about.
As a Black man, why can't I be the first one in my family to graduate from college? Why can't it be me?
Yeah.
Shift the way that I think about the world.
Bold truth, real conviction, zero permission. This is the CJ Pearson Show.
The CJ Pearson Show. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.
We're back here on the Yaffee program, doing my part to make radio great again on News Talk 770 AM, 92.5 FM, WVNN. Glad you've joined the show today. Don't forget, we have a great lineup the rest of the day. After this show, you got The Vince Show, then Right Side Radio, then Mark Levin, then The Daily Controversy. And as you know, in the mornings, you got Dale Jackson. All right, Walker is here producing once again, so let's get right to it. We have What's Trending with Walker.
Keeping you up to date with all that's trending in your world.
Oh, they have the internet on computers now.
You guys know how to post videos to Facebook?
It's What's Trending.
Brought to you by Coleman Furniture Market. And yes, you know why they sponsor What's Trending, because they always have the latest trending in furniture, and the selection is amazing. I mean, just go to their Facebook page right now. You can see some of it, but you only see some of it. I mean, go to the store. They're located in the heart of Coleman, Alabama, and you can find out more at ColemanFurnitureMarket.com. But when you go, I mean, the only problem with going to Coleman Furniture Market is you're overwhelmed because they have so many choices and so many great prices. I mean, really, that's how it works. And I know that firsthand because I went there, and most of the furniture in my home is from Coleman Furniture Market. My cats love it too. They get to use my couch more than me, I think. So go today. Go to the Facebook page, like their Facebook page. They're on Instagram as well, or go to ColemanFurnitureMarket.com. When you do, let them know Yaffee sent you. All right, Walker, what's number 5 today?
Number 5, speaking of Chick-fil-A, which had a commercial play right before this, funny enough.
Yeah.
They are giving out free chicken biscuits for Nostalgia celebration in honor of 80 years.
So, okay. Well, I mean, what do you have to do?
It says Chick-fil-A One members can claim a free chicken biscuit during breakfast hours. No purchase necessary. It started yesterday and goes through February 28th.
So it's just the regular chicken biscuit? Because their spicy chicken biscuit is amazing.
Yeah, it's just a regular chicken biscuit.
See, I would be tough. Because I would go in and I'd be like, go ahead and get a free regular chicken biscuit. But then I would see the spicy chicken biscuit and really want it and end up paying for that.
I mean, maybe you could ask.
It's like, please for nostalgia or whatever. I don't know.
They also have...
That's cool.
Sorry. They also have a few beloved classics with fresh new twists, including frosted sodas, floats, classic cups, and new retro packaging.
Oh, that's kind of cool. So I know that the frosted soda thing, which I love, but that's become very popular in a lot of places. So now I want Chick-fil-A. Now I'm hungry. This is their marketing has worked because now I want to go. All right, what's number 4?
Number 4, TikTok has launched a local feed tab on their home screen, which is designed to help people stay connected with their community and discover what's going on nearby. They'll show
and that China can spy on. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
See, people were suspicious at first because they updated their privacy policy, saying that they would ask for like permission to use your location because of this new feature, and the content can be related to travel, events, restaurants, small businesses, and local creators.
Do you have TikTok? I think you do, right?
I do, but I never use it. The only reason I have it is because my friends will send me stuff, and anytime you try to watch a video through the browser, it just sends you to download the app when you click on the video. I got tired of that, so I downloaded the app.
Tricky TikTok, they got you to do it. But why don't you use it?
I don't know. I just prefer like YouTube Shorts or Facebook Reels.
Okay. I mean, that's interesting because Bugsy and Kelsey make fun of me because I use those too. I use YouTube Shorts or Facebook Reels or Instagram Reels, and they make fun of me because TikTok, they're like, oh, that's stuff from TikTok 2 weeks ago. That's what they say. But
I think TikTok's algorithm is just a little bit different, and I just happen to prefer the other. And I think there's no shame in that.
I agree. All right, what's number 3?
Number 3, Miley Cyrus has announced a Hannah Montana 20th anniversary special that premieres March 24th on Disney Plus. Yes,
I'm old.
That's
the message.
That makes me feel a little old too because it started March 2006, which I was still 5 at that point.
Oh dear, you were 5?
I was 5. I didn't turn 6 for a couple months.
Oh dear God, I was a sophomore in college. And you were 5?
I was 5.
You are not allowed to say you feel old on this show ever again.
Okay.
But I mean, what are they doing for the special?
They're going to show behind the scenes footage that's never been shown, clips that weren't used, and Miley Cyrus is going to go over like what she feels like looking back on the show and what her experience was.
Yeah, I have to admit, I watched some of that show. It was like that and Wizards of Waverly Place.
Yes.
That was the other one.
I liked that too.
The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody.
And iCarly.
I never got into iCarly.
Okay.
I mean, I shouldn't have been. I was in college. I shouldn't have been watching any of them. Every now and then it would be on the TV. And I was like, oh, this is dumb. But I ended up watching it. I needed an escape, and I wonder how it holds up. If I went back and watched it, I wonder how it holds up.
I would say the humor is probably going to feel a little dated.
Probably. I mean, it's kid friendly.
Yeah,
and it's very silly. I guess is the way to put it. The humor is very, very silly. Which, I mean, when you're trying to appeal to kids.
Yeah, it's like modern slapstick almost.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. All right, what are we at number 1 already?
We're at number 2.
1? Oh, number 2.
So I'm kind of excited to let you listen to it because I finally have a clip. People are singing about Hidden Valley Ranch.
Oh, okay. Well, now I'm on board. I love me some Hidden Valley Ranch. Not gonna lie.
A creator's video went viral after Hidden Valley Ranch had commented on another video of hers. And she responded with a Foreigner-esque jingle for it.
Okay.
Let me get the clip.
Yeah, because, I mean, I love some Hidden Valley Ranch. My wife is more of like, oh, we get the nice ranch in the in the freezer section, I guess in the produce section, it's cold. So we have to get the nicer ranch. And I'm like, I don't care.
Okay.
Give me some Hidden Valley. But no, go ahead and play it.
Hidden Valley Ranch. Hidden Valley Ranch. Sauce balls, they will find you. Hidden Valley Ranch will guide you. Hot wings, not without you. Hidden Valley Ranch.
Oh, that was good.
Yes, I love it so much.
Oh, that will be in a commercial. You know that's coming.
I hope they use it so bad.
It was clever.
People have been reposting it, covering it. Some people have used.
How about earned media, earned exposure without having to pay for anything?
Some people have used it as a soundtrack for speculative ads, which is ones where they're just showcasing their skills to potential
Someone's
companies.
going to sing that at American Idol or The Voice.
From nail art to anime.
Oh, dear God. This is getting out of control.
Yeah,
It was good, though. It was clever.
Yeah, it was only posted 2 weeks ago, and all of this has been happening.
Are you a fan of Hidden Valley Ranch?
I will say, as I've gotten older, I've gotten more of a taste for fresh ranch that restaurants make over the bottle, but I still like ranch. Is what I always choose to dip wings in. I do not like blue cheese.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tolerate some blue cheese is good, but I like ranch. But I'm the kind of person I'll dip my fries in ranch. I'll put I'll put it on a sandwich. I'm one of those. Some people are ketchup people. I'm not a ketchup person. I'm a ranch person. All right, what's number one?
Number one is Bruce Springsteen and E Street Band have announced a Land of Hope and Dreams American tour.
Okay. Well, are they coming to Huntsville? Do you know? Well, I guess have they announced the dates or the places?
They've announced the dates in a couple of the places. It'll be March 21st through May 27th with 20 dates. Tickets go on sale February 20th and February 21st from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. It says that it'll be from Minneapolis to California, from Texas to Washington, D.C. So
he's 76? Bruce Springsteen.
I do not know how old he is.
Apparently he's 76. I just looked it up. I was like, wow, it's still touring.
Yeah, he says everyone, regardless of where you stand or what you believe in, is welcome.
Yeah, I think he's been pretty political lately and gotten some pushback for that. So I think that might be why. All right, Walker, I appreciate it. As always, we'll be back in a moment on the Yaffee program.
The Yaffee program.
News Talk 770 AM, 92.5 FM, WVNN. We're back here on the Yaffee program. Quick reminder, as always, if you missed any of the show live, the podcast will be up on the website, WVNN.com. One person said, so Walker had it in her What's Trending, that Chick-fil-A for going to have the special where they're giving away chicken biscuits. And I said, no, I got to have a spicy chicken biscuit. And someone said, no, get the regular one on the text line. They said, just put buffalo sauce on the chicken biscuit. It's the same. And I don't think so. I don't know if that, it's cooked really, on the spicy one, it's cooked really nice into the chicken. I don't know if it'll be the same.
Can I say that I agree?
With me or?
With you, yes.
But, if it's free, maybe I'll I'll do that just this once, just so it's free. Now, another person, earlier on, we were talking about that story where in Alabama, they're trying to pass a bill to make it a felony to interrupt a place of worship like those protesters, those agitators, those left-wing activists did in Minneapolis, and Don Lemon with them. One person said, my only concern, what if someone is at a church service and calls out the pastor for preaching something other than the word? like saying the angel gave Mary a choice in order to be supportive of abortion. Now, I will say this. One, I think there's a time and place to call a pastor for not giving the right word. If you're just standing up and screaming at the pastor during the service because you disagree, I mean, no, stand up and leave and try to make changes. But, I mean, I don't think that's... I find it very... Well, I don't think that's happening a lot. And two, I find it very difficult to believe that this law would have much of an impact on that. Now, one thing we do have to talk about, I was talking about a spiritual battle. Also part of the spiritual battle is the issue with transgenderism, the radical transgender ideology. Well, there's a story recently that shows that, we need to be concerned. I mean, mostly for kids, but also adults that are going through this so-called transgender process. Because instead of treating it like a mental disorder for a lot of these people, we're acting like it's normal, and then we pump up full of hormones, all this other stuff, and it causes more problems. So I want to read this from Noah Rothman at the National Review. He says, 2 more trans killers carry out atrocities. There are dots here that should be connected. He says, we have been confronted this week by 2 unspeakable but familiar atrocities in nearly as many days. A high school hockey match in Rhode Island erupted in chaos on Monday when 56-year-old Robert Dorgan, also known as Roberta Esposito, opened fire on his estranged family. Dorgan targeted his ex-wife and 3 children, as well as a family friend who was watching the game before he turned his gun on himself. Now, the children's mother died at the scene. One of Dorgan's children passed away at the hospital. 3 more victims remain in critical condition, which is horrific. Dorgan was described by a family member as being very sick with mental health issues, his gender dysphoria being just one of them. He had narcissistic and personality disorder traits. And Noah Rothman continues. He said, this attack follows the Valentine's Day massacre of 8 in British Columbia, Canada, including the shooter's own mother and his 11-year-old half-brother before he shot himself. The New York Post also covered that. Noah Rothman says these are dots that should be connected. Some will focus on the 2 shooters' depressive self-obsession, which manifested first in other ways with graphic violence. But he says an obsession with violence is one clear through line in these cases. So too are the telltale expressions of mental illness that precede these violent outbursts. These killers take inspiration from the murderers that came before them. Rupnow and Westman were captivated by acts of violence they sought to imitate. But Noah Rothman continues on. But a transgender identity has also become an unmistakable warning sign for all those who brave enough to recognize it as one, regardless of the social stigma that surrounds acknowledging the evidence of your own eyes. This week's killers join a growing list of trans-identifying shooters or killers who were steeped in the milieu of transgender activism. Kirk's shooter, Charlie Kirk, was adjacent to that culture. He lived and was romantically involved with a male transitioning to a female. The activist left and their house organs are quick to accuse those of noticing this disturbing trend of attempting to falsely portray all transgender people as prone to mental illness and violence. It's hardly the most pressing concern facing society amid a rise in incidents of murderous violence, but it's a valid rejoinder. The violent are few in number, and they tend not to be representative of whatever communities they once inhabited. The violently mentally ill are, however, drawn to a variety of pathologies. It seems they are particularly attracted to those that dominate the national discourse at any given moment and generate attention for their alleged sufferers. He says perhaps transgenderism is its own mental illness. Possibly, he said it's not necessarily connected, but he says pretending this phenomenon isn't happening or has been overblown by bigots and political opportunists won't make it go away. It must be confronted with the courage to do so. So his overall point is this. A lot of those in the propaganda press ignored this fact. They don't want to connect the dots. But mentally ill people are now using this transgenderism as a cover for their mental illness. I mean, that's part of the problem. Now, I am one who believes that gender dysphoria is a mental illness by its nature. You're talking about a problem in the head, in the mind, believing you're a different sex. I mean, sorry, if you're not a different sex, but you believe you're a different sex, that is a mental disorder by its very definition. But beyond that, what's happening is those who are already mentally ill are attracted to this narrative, and then they go down this road, and then when people react to it, they get even more violent. So the point is, when you connect the dots here, you got to look at some warning signs. You got to look at some red flags. But once the red flag of transgenderism comes up, a lot of people are unwilling to look at it because they're afraid of being called a bigot or whatever. And this becomes a problem because when you're unwilling to look at real mental illness in people that could be a danger to themselves and those around them, then you have more acts of violence that could have been stopped ahead of time. So unfortunately, though, our culture is such a way, I think it's changing. The vibe has shifted on this issue. Definitely has, especially with children, but overall. But you have a lot of people that aren't going to be willing to do anything to address the issue of someone's mental illness because all of a sudden they've claimed that they're trans, and if you even address that as a part of the mental illness, you are called a bigot. Which is absurd, but that becomes a problem. So people are unwilling to address the issue, and so these transgender people who are mentally ill act out in violence. And unfortunately, until we are really willing to address this, it's going to keep happening. It has kept happening. It's scary, frankly. It's scary. I'm not saying every person who claims to be transgender would react violently, but the fact is now they're using that as a cover. Those who are violently mentally ill, a lot of them, for some reason, are attracted to this transgender radical nonsense, and that has been used as a cover so we don't address their mental health issues. Just another reason why this issue actually does matter in the big scheme of things, despite what Democrats on the left say. Appreciate you listening to the show. If you missed any of it live, the podcast is up on the website, WVNN.com, or anywhere you get your podcast. The Vince Show is coming up next, and I'll be back tomorrow at the same time. See you then.
It's the Yaffee Program on WVNN.
It's the biggest game on the planet, and nobody breaks it down like Jim Rome.
Super Bowl run. Who do you think will be the last one standing this year?
Fearless debate and the best callers in sports.
I don't care what you say. Defense wins Super Bowl.
That defense absolutely is Super Bowl caliber. The quarterbacking sure as hell wasn't.
He's the Spitfire of sports smack.
A lot to get to, and I'm not sure you're going to like all of it. Honestly, I don't even care if you like all of it or not. I have a job to do.
The Jim Rome Show.
Get up in here.
Follow and listen on your favorite platform.